Number 10, Booster Gold. Booster Gold is the kind of superhero who'd probably start a live stream mid-battle to plug his merch, and that's exactly why so many fans can't stand him. He's the walking embodiment of clout chasing, centuries before the internet even existed. Created by Dan Jurgens in 1986, Booster started life as Michael John Carter, a failed 25th century athlete who decided, why work hard when I could time travel and fake it? So he stole some future tech, grabbed his chatty robot Skeets, and zipped to the 20th century to become a self-made celebrity hero. At first, well, it worked. Cameras loved him, sponsors loved him, but Raiders, yeah, not so much. His early adventures made him look more like a marketing scheme than a moral icon. Though over time writers gave him more depth, Jeff Johns' 52 series and later stories reimagined him as a reluctant time travel guardian, forced to protect history while getting zero credit for it. The catch? A lot of us never forgot the fame-hungry version. We have a good memory. So even when he's out there saving a timeline, he still feels like the guy who'd post a selfie next to a burning building. So what makes it worse is how inconsistent he's been. Some stories treat him like a tragic underdog, others like comic relief who can't read the room. Add constant reboots like New 52, Rebirth and Convergence, confusing continuity, and time travel chaos, and you've got a hero who's both overpowered and underappreciated sometimes in the same issue. But that messiness is kind of the point. Booster Gold is meant to be flawed, insecure, and painfully human in a world of gods. Some readers love that honesty. Others just see a glory hog in a gold suit. Either way, he's proof that even in the multiverse, fame has an expiration date, and Booster hit his a few timelines ago. Number 9, Guy Gardner. If arrogance had a power ring, I would assume it would look exactly like Guy Gardner. He's the Green Lantern who talks like he's in charge, fights like he's in a bar brawl, and somehow always manages to make every team meeting feel like a bad group project. Some fans love his chaos, while others would like to gladly yeet him into the Phantom Zone. Guy debuted in Green Lantern number 59 as one of the backup lanterns for Earth, but his personality didn't really explode until the late 80s Justice League International era. That's where Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis, and Kevin Maguire turned him into comics' loudest ego, a cocky, macho loudmouth who consistently picks fights and got punched out by Batman in one of DC's most replayed moments ever. It was funny once, maybe twice, but for many readers, Guy quickly went from comic relief to please just stop talking. What made it worse was how inconsistent his character became over the years. One decade he's a joke character. The next, he's a gritty anti-hero, and at one point he literally turns into an alien hybrid with shape-shifting powers and Guy Gardner warrior. For a lot of us reading him, the constant reinventions made him feel less like a hero and more like a walking editorial experiment. And when DC tried to make him serious again, like giving him red powers during Blackest Night, it didn't fix things. It added more confusion. Was he supposed to be deep, tragic, or just angry with extra steps? In short, Guy Gardner works best as the guy you love to hate. The obnoxious teammate who makes every scene louder and every punchline messier. The problem starts when the story expects you to root for him because no amount of ring power can make arrogance charming for long. Number 8, Batman Who Laughs. Some villains get hate because they're boring. The Batman Who Laughs gets hate because he's everywhere, like glitter after one arts and crafts accident. You'll still be finding him in random comics 5 years later. Created by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo in 2017's Dark Knight's Metal, this guy is basically what happens if Batman and the Joker merged in one nightmare. The Earth 22 Bruce killed the Joker, got dosed with a fancy toxin, and slowly turned into a twisted mix of Batman's discipline and Joker's chaos. The result? A spiked visor, a creepy permanent smile, and an army of chained-up evil Robins. He's nightmare fuel, sure, but he's also a walking Funko Pop machine. At first, the idea landed hard. Batman infected with Joker toxin? Well, that's pure horror gold. He was scary, fresh, and his design was instantly iconic. Personally, one of my favorites in all of comics. The problem came after. DC realized he sold like crazy and started pushing him into every possible storyline. Suddenly, subtle moral debates were replaced with long torture scenes, shock kills, and surprise reveals where, yep, the Batman Who Laughs again. Fans who loved him in small doses started to feel like they were being bludgeoned with his spiked visor. What's worse, his concept can feel thin. He's cool to look at, but some readers argue he strips away the depth of both Batman and Joker without giving much back. Instead of exploring psychology, the story leans on edgy visuals and multiverse-scale chaos. That combination of overexposure, shallow writing, and endless merch made him polarizing. To some, he's a modern horror icon. To others, he's a hot topic version of Batman that DC won't stop cashing in on. I mean, you got a golden idea of mashing two of the greatest DC characters into one, yet you have zero intention of writing him a little better? Either way, the Batman Who Laughs has guaranteed one thing: fans will never stop arguing about him. Number 7, Deathstroke. Deathstroke is the kind of villain who's so competent, it's annoying. He's not chaotic like the Joker or theatrical like Lex, he's just terrifyingly good at his job. And that job usually involves ruining someone's life in the most calculated way possible. He's basically the guy who shows up, wins, and makes everyone miserable while doing it. Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke the Terminator, first appeared in the new Teen Titans #2. He started as a military prodigy who volunteered for a government experiment that gave him enhanced strength, reflexes, and genius-level tactics. Basically, the US Army made Captain America but forgot to install a conscience. Slade took those upgrades straight into the mercenary business, turning professionalism into pure menace. His most infamous act came in the Judas Contract, where he manipulated a young Tara who betrayed the Teen Titans. It wasn't just betrayal, it was psychological warfare. He broke the team from the inside and proved he didn't need bombs when emotional damage worked better. Emotional damage! That's when readers realized Deathstroke wasn't a fun villain, he was a trauma factory with an eye patch. What made fans even more frustrated over the years is how DC keeps trying to make him cool. Sometimes he's a ruthless assassin. Sometimes he's a tragic anti-hero. Sometimes he's basically Batman with better aim. The constant tone shifts and power creep turned him into a walking editorial experiment. On top of that, his family storylines of dead sons, broken daughters, and endless betrayal make him exhausting to read. So yeah, Deathstroke is hated because he's too good at being awful. He's the villain who's always walking away clean while everyone else bleeds. Number 6, Joker. If comic book fans had a most likely to be punched through a wall yearbook, the Joker would have won it 80 years in a row. The guy's whole deal is being everyone's worst day in makeup. Since debuting in Batman #1 in 1940, he's gone from a killer clown with a chemistry set to the ultimate chaos gremlin of the DC universe. Smiling, scheming, and leaving trauma wherever he goes. In the comics, he's done everything short of blowing up the concept of happiness itself. He murdered Jason Todd, crippled Barbara Gordon, terrorized Gotham on a weekly basis, and treats civilians like unpaid extras in his horror comedy routine. The man doesn't rob banks or take over the world, he just wants to prove that life is one long screaming punchline. That's why Batman hates him. It's never about money or power, it's about making people break. But outside the panels, the hate gets even more meta. Writers keep dragging him out whenever DC needs shock value, tragedy, or a sales boost, which turns every Joker story into a rerun of the same nightmare. A lot of us readers get tired of watching him torture people for art while pretending it's deep. On top of that, landmark stories like The Killing Joke aged into controversy. Famous, sure, but we hate the fact that it's using cruelty and sex violence as character development. So why do readers still hate him? Because the Joker has become too good at what he does. He's chaos perfected, an icon of pain who keeps showing up, smiling like he owns the franchise. In comics, he's the punchline you can't escape. The villain who keeps winning by making everyone miserable, including the audience. Number 5, Maxwell Lord. There are comic book villains you love to hate. And then there's Maxwell Lord, the guy who made me genuinely angry in real life. He's the smug corporate type who looks like he should be selling tech startups, but instead sells out superheroes. Maxwell Lord first showed up in Justice League #1 in 1987 as the businessman behind the newly formed Justice League International. At first, he was the kind guy who could charm a camera crew and stab you in the back with a smile. He wasn't evil, just morally flexible, more about branding the League than saving lives. Us fans enjoyed his manipulative wit and that slimy boss you can't fire energy. It's pretty tough. But then came the 2000s when DC decided subtle wasn't spicy enough. because Maxwell got telepathic powers from a meta-gene incident and went full villain mode. The turning point came in Countdown to Infinite Crisis when he murdered Ted Kord, the fan favorite Blue Beetle, in cold blood. That single act turned a snarky schemer into one of DC's most despised characters overnight. It was like watching your annoying coworker suddenly commit treason. And it got worse. Max hijacked Batman's Brother Eye satellite, unleashed an army of Omax, and manipulated Superman's mind, forcing Wonder Woman to kill him to stop the carnage. It was brutal, shocking, and for many fans, unforgivable. Later comics tried to humanize him, but the damage was done. The quirky manager who once balanced humor and ambition was now the guy who shot his best friend in the head and tried to control the world. Longtime readers, Maxwell Lord isn't just a villain, he's the poster child of when corporate ambition, both in and out of comics, goes way too far. Number 4, Superboy Prime. Superboy Prime is the kind of character who makes readers sigh the second he shows up because they know someone's about to die. A planet's about to explode, and Continued itself might not survive the issue. He's DC's ultimate overpowered problem child. Basically Superman, but with the emotional control of a Reddit comment section. He first appeared in 1985's DC Comics Presents number 87. Sweet kid from Earth Prime, a world where superheroes are just comic book characters. But after getting dragged into the Crisis on Infinite Earths multiverse war, he goes from wide-eyed fanboy to full-blown cosmic menace. Stuck in a paradise dimension afterwards, he stews in frustration for years until he snaps, escapes, and starts punching everything that moves. Literally punching reality so hard it changes continuity. How the hell is that even possible? I don't know. Comics are weird like that. Inside the comics, people hate him because he's a walking catastrophe. He kills heroes, wipes out teams, and casually wrecks entire worlds whenever he's upset. His fights aren't emotional showdowns, they're tantrums that rewrite the universe. He's so powerful that he stops feeling like a character and more like a plot device with trauma issues. What makes it worse is the meta angle. Superboy Prime isn't just a villain, he's a parody of toxic fans. He's the angry comic reader who hates cringe, wants the old days back, and throws a fit when the story moves on. So every time he appears, it feels like DC's winking at the audience while also lecturing them. And nobody likes being called out and hit with a multiverse reboot at the same time. Over the years, writers have tried giving him redemption arcs, but it's too hard to root for someone who once punched the universe. Love him or hate him, I think Superboy Prime will forever be the fandom's least chill Kryptonian. Number 3, Jason Todd. Few comic book sidekicks can brag about being so disliked that fans literally voted for their death. But Jason Todd owns that crown. In 1988, DC opened a 900-number hotline to decide if Robin should live or die, and readers gleefully smashed the kill button. Raise your hand and comment down below if you were one of them. That's how unpopular Jason was. His death wasn't just written, it was crowdsourced. Jason started out in the 80s as the second Robin, a replacement for Dick Grayson, but where Dick was disciplined and likable, Jason was reckless, hot-headed, and way too eager to punch first and ask questions never. He was more of a headache than a sidekick, constantly testing Batman's patience. Instead of feeling like Batman's partner, he felt like the kid in class who argues with the teacher every 5 minutes. Yeah, he's annoying like that. Then came a death in the family. Joker beat Jason with a crowbar and left him to die in an explosion. Us fans had literally asked for this, which turned Jason into both a tragedy and a punchline. What's worse, his death became a symbol of DC chasing headlines, a publicity stunt more than a natural story. Fast forward to 2004 and Jason comes back from the grave as the Red Hood. Instead of reuniting with Bruce with hugs and forgiveness, he decided to run Gotham's crime world and kill criminals Batman spared. Some readers loved the drama, but many hated the betrayal. Robin wasn't supposed to become a violent anti-hero. It felt like Batman's biggest failure had been weaponized against his own legacy. Jason's reputation never shook off that mix of dislike and controversy. First, fans voted him off the island. Then his return split the room again, and that's why he's taken the number 3 spot. He's not the heartwarming Robin people wanted, he's the ghost that won't stop haunting Gotham. And of course, the fan base. Number 2, Jon Kent. If there's one character who could start a full-blown Twitter war faster than the Joker can, start chaos in Gotham, it's Jon Kent. The poor guy went from being superhero's adorable son to the internet's favorite punching bag, all before he even finished growing up properly. Let me explain. Jon Kent, son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, debuted in 2015's Convergent Superman #2. At first, he was this bright, curious kid discovering his powers and learning from the best dad ever. Fans loved that era. It was wholesome, funny, and felt like a fresh take on the Superman family. Then DC hit the fast forward button. After some time shenanigans and mystical aging, Jon became suddenly a teenager and was handed the Superman title while his dad went off-world. It should have been a coming-of-age epic, but instead, it felt like DC pressed skip intro on this character development. That whiplash annoyed fans to the core. One issue, he's a curious kid. The next, he's lecturing world leaders and flying into global crises like a pro. Like, buddy, you were born yesterday. What do you know about politics? On top of that, Superman, son of Kal-El, leaned into social themes. Jon fought for refugees, climate change, and yes, came out as bisexual. Many praised the representation, but others cried agenda, and suddenly, as you expected, Jon wasn't a character, he was a culture war mascot. What made it worse was how loud everything got. Every sales chart, headline, and reboot turned into online battlefield reports. It stopped being about storyline and became about sides. In the end, Jon Kent's biggest flaw isn't in the comics, it's how overexposed he became outside of them. Number 1, Damian Wayne. If you ever wanted to see a fandom collectively foam at the mouth, just whisper, Damian Wayne, into the Batcave and watch chaos unfold. He's one of the most hated Robins ever, and not because he wore ugly tights. This kid walked into Gotham like a pint-sized dictator who already owned the place. Damian is the biological son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul, raised by the League of Assassins to be a child prodigy and stabbing people. By the time he's 10, he's basically a mini John Wick, but I'd say with more attitude than height. Grant Morrison introduced him in 2006 Batman and Son, where Damian shows up not asking for hugs, but for the keys to the Batmobile and a license to kill. He sucker punches Tim Drake, mocks Bruce's morals, and casually offs bad guys like it's an after-school activity. On top of that, fans hated the retcon itself. I mean, suddenly Batman has a biological son, and he's an assassin kid dropped into the Bat family like an uninvited guest. Damian came off smug, bratty, and entitled, so instead of feeling sorry for his rough upbringing, we readers mostly wanted to punt him back to the League of Assassins. What's worse, he wasn't just annoying, he was designed to stir the pot. Morrison wrote him as a grenade rolled into the Bat family dynamics, exploding every conversation. For readers who grew up with Dick, Jason, or Tim, Damian felt like the ultimate middle school bully who somehow got tenure. And we all know how much we hate kids like that. Over time, DC gave him redemption arcs, he bonded with Jon Kent in Super Sons-led teams, even died and got resurrected. Some fans warmed up, others doubled down on the hate. Love him or loathe him, Damian Wayne has secured one thing, the #1 spot in this video. That's it for this one. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. Craving more stories from comics, movies, and beyond? Check out this video right here. Cheers and see you in the next one.